Hi, thanks for joining me today. We're going to be making an LED light and we'll be putting frosted vinyl onto it. So I'm going to import the design. So this is the downloaded version of Canvas Workspace. And we're going to File, and we can import here from your computer, or you can just go here on the left and choose Import from your computer there. I'm going to use Matilda Unicorn. This Unicorn will be available free in my library if you would like to make one of these. So click on it and go Open, and it will import in. So we need to check the sizing. I'm going to use an acrylic blank, and the blank is 200 millimeters across, which is about 7.9 inches across. So if we click on this, we'll just select all the pieces so we can see the size correctly, and go in on the right here, go into the Edit panel. You can see that the size is 185.5, which sounds like it'll fit. However, it's always wise to check. So my design is a round circular design. You can choose any of these depending on what your project is. However, I'm going to use a circle because obviously mine's a circle. So first of all, we want to make sure that this is the correct size. So still in the Edit panel, over here on the right, make sure that the Maintain Aspect Ratio is checked. You can see it's blue with a blue tick, and that will keep the width and the height the same. Now we can use the little arrow keys, the reduce and increase arrow keys here, or we can simply click in the box here and type in 2 because I want it 200 millimeters. You can see it hasn't changed the height just yet, but once you click into your screen, let's go back in and check it, and it's 200 by 200. I'll just put that away, and I'll just make this a little smaller perhaps so we can see it a bit better. And there's our 200 by 200 circle template. So I'll pop this here about in the center so it's easy enough to work with. And what I'm going to do is go back into the Layers panel, and you can see all the shapes here in the Layers panel, and there's the circle shape highlighted. I'm going to lock that. There's a little toggle lock just here. I'm going to lock that because I want to use it as a template. That will, see, I can't click on it now, but I can choose all of these and move them around. But this will just stay right here until I'm ready for it. You can see I've selected all the pieces of the Matilda design, and they're highlighted blue on the right. Now you may not want Matilda as the name on this LED light. I want it, but you may not. So it's pretty easy. I'll just delete that, and what you'll receive in the download is just this piece of the design. You can add your own text. So click here and we'll choose a name, Sally, that's a name, and you can see Sally's there. Click away from Sally, and I've chosen Austin. Normally it will come in as Antique Oaklands, and you can go down and choose what one you would like. I'm going to use Austin because I quite like the look of that. You can see it's remembered. I've had Austin selected. Once you close Canvas, it won't remember that again. And Sally's not quite the right size for my design, so we'll go back into the Edit panel, and this time we'll just increase the size with the little toggle switches, a little increase arrows. Work out a size that we like. Yep. You can also just type in if you know what size you want. So if I want 110, click away, and that's increased. which that doesn't look too bad a size for that size name. Now the other thing I can see straight away, which I'll just zoom in so you can see it as well. Change over, so I've used the zoom and now back to the arrow, is this area here on the L and the Y, they will all cut. They will be cut lines when you cut it with your ScanNCut. And to avoid that, we'll go down. We're still in the edit panel. So we've highlighted the text in the edit panel. Scroll down and go world. And that's actually done a pretty good job. Just undo that for a second. And you can see that's bold. Sometimes when it's bold, you've got some choices there. When it's bold, it has a few issues. I've got a course called Editing Nodes. It covers lots of issues and how to create designs from scratch. You might like to check out. But in this case, this particular font seems happy with bold, which that's excellent news on our part, and we'll use that. And we'll just zoom back out so we can see the design again on our canvas mat. Position it up. Now instead of placing all these separate pieces, because these at the moment are separated pieces, just go into the layers panel so you can see. So you can see, okay, so this piece here is sitting right there and it's on top. So there's an arrange, it's like a stack of papers, pretend it's a stack of papers, and the piece of paper or the top piece is on top, so I can't click on that. You can see I can actually go over here and choose it in here and it will highlight it, or that one. But I can also move this, just unlock it for a second. I'll move this down the bottom, so it's down here now, and I'll lock it again, and now I can do what I want on top. So that there is the bottom layer and this is the top layer. We'll just join these together because it will make it easier to move them all instead of trying to align them all separately. There's a couple of ways of grouping. You can group right here, or you can go up to the layers menu up on the top left. I always, for some reason, I always go to the edit first, which I know it's in the layers. So go to layers and group. And that's one design now that can move around freely as one. You'll see over here in the right here that all these shapes have dropped into the group. It's a collapsible group, and you can hide the group depending on what project you're working on. So you can see all of them. We will just scroll down a little bit so you can see a bit better. And that actually fits really nicely on that template. So that's good. Yes, you can still see the template. My problem is I don't want to cut a Sally. So we'll delete that. And how you size that will depend on the length of the name you use, because that will make a difference. We'll go back in and bring the Matilda back in because that's the one I want to use. Basically we're back to scratch, so we'll just quickly group that. I'll use this group down here, works exactly the same. You can see it's done the same. Popped it all into one group. And I'll scroll down a little bit. And we'll just move that into here. And you can see that does not fit as well as the Sally did. My Matilda name is quite a bit bigger and sprawls outside of our acrylic blank sizing. It's easy enough to fix. We'll go over back into the edit panel, and this time we'll just use these keys and we'll minimize that right down, about there maybe. No, that's not too bad. Just so it fits how you would like it. Now we've got another choice at this point. So I'll go into the layers and I'm going to unlock that shape. So with that unlocked, and if we send this to your ScanNCut now, the layers, all those layers will go over to your ScanNCut. You can use, because we're cutting vinyl, you could use this, or not vinyl, you could use it as well. But with vinyl, you could use this as like a weeding box. Now, many of you may have a weeding box on a selection on your ScanNCut. You can use that as well. That's another option. This one's already there. It's about the right size, goes around your design, and is probably a good choice. Now, what a weeding box actually does is it removes or cuts around. So when you remove all the unwanted parts of the vinyl, you don't have to remove it right from here. It makes it just a little bit easier to weed, and particularly if you've got a patterned vinyl. I've discovered that patterned vinyl is very difficult to find where your cut lines are, and very difficult to weed, and having your weeding box makes that a whole lot easier. Another thing we can do is, which doesn't really matter too much for this particular design, go back into the edit panel. Edit panel is very popular. Select both your circle and your design and just check your alignment. So you've got alignment center and middle. And you can just see that the Matilda moved around a little bit. In fact, it moved around so that I don't actually like where it landed. That's okay. We'll just move it back. We don't want to. This cut line will not make any difference at all to your design placement, because it's just a weeding box. So as long as it doesn't cut off, so it doesn't cut part of your design off like that, you'll be fine. So as long as it's around your design. I'm not going to worry about sending a weeding box for me, so I'm just going to hide that for this design. And you'll see it's disappeared. It's still there. Untoggle and toggle, it's still there, but it's not there at the moment for sending to your machine. So we're going to export the file, and we've got a warning. So the warning says the objects that have been set as hidden are not available to export or transfer. It's talking about this little toggle icon toggling the visibility of the shape. So any shapes that do not have the eye showing will not be sent. So that's all that warning means. If you're using a USB, this is a USB, you would export as FCM to a USB drive and take that over to your ScanNCut. I'm going to go via the internet, and if you've got a cable and you want to connect your ScanNCut to your machine via USB cable, you would select that one. We're going to click this one, and there it's gone. Click OK, and I'll see you in the next section of the video. Hope you've enjoyed that session. Thanks. Okay, we're over at our machine now. Just try and set things up a little bit. We're going and retrieve our data. Now you can choose any of whatever you sent it with. You choose the correct one. I send it via Wi-Fi, so I've selected the Wi-Fi option, and it just takes a little minute to retrieve your pattern, and there it is. I'm going to go OK. Before I do much more, I want to scan my material. So that little blue icon will scan it, and it's just scanning my mat. I've already got my material. I've used frosted 3M vinyl. I've got that on the mat. It's only a little square, so I need to make sure I place it correctly on the materials. And you can just see, you may not see very easily, but we'll change the background so it might make it a little bit easier to see. Go OK, and you can move it around. If it's not quite right, you can just tap on your design and move it a little bit. We'll just tap there. You can see the red lines come around it. Just move it slightly so it's in place. You possibly, because it's a very clear type vinyl I've used on a white background, it's a little bit hard to see, but that changing the background will make a big difference. And once you're happy with it, go OK. And we'll select cut, and we are going to do a half cut, and you can see half cut is off. So into the tools, scroll down and turn your half cut on, and there's the weeding box if you wanted to add your weeding box. Go OK. I like to do a test cut, particularly when I haven't used the materials before. Pops a little triangle in there, just grab the triangle and give it a slide and put it somewhere where it's pretty easy to peel out. You don't want it right up the top near the machine. I don't normally remove my mat at this point. I just do it all on my ScanNCut mat. So now it's cutting that little triangle out, and I'm just going to peel it off. I won't shift the camera. I'll just peel that off, and there it is. You can see it's come off. And on the actual backing, you can see it's left the backing in place on the mat, which is what you want when you're cutting vinyl. Just going to say start and speed this a bit up. It's going to take 4 minutes to cut that design. So I'm whizzing through that because it's pretty boring. Okay. So now we're out. I'm going to do this fairly quickly as well. So weed your frosted vinyl. Now, one thing I discovered with the frosted vinyl is it's actually really hard to see. The dull, because I used matte vinyl, the vinyl itself is dull, and the shiny bit is the backing paper. So just peel it off. If you need to change direction or change from a different corner to make it a little bit easier to weed, that's fine. Sometimes, depending on what the design is, it makes it a bit easier to weed it from a different direction. So this is my acrylic blank. They come with a covering on them. I'm just trying to lift the corner of the protective covering. Sometimes the coverings are brown paper, very easy to see, and sometimes they're very, very clear and hard to realise, and often people don't realise that there is a covering on there. So double check your acrylic blanks to make sure that you haven't left a protective covering on there. Get the transfer paper. Okay, we've put the transfer tape or the transfer sheet onto the vinyl. Just smooth it down and it will peel right back up again. You see the designs coming with the transfer sheet off the backing paper. If it doesn't, just press it back down, give it another bit of a tap. If you have a lot of trouble, sometimes like glitter vinyl will be difficult to lift, so you need a stronger transfer sheet. Or you can just use your nail. Sometimes that's enough just to get a bit of a lift start, or tack enough. So press it down again if it's not quite lifting, and sort of peel it away from each other. So I'm folding the backing paper away a little bit from. You can just see the design. Give it a little bit of a fold, and you can see that I've messed up the eye. It's missing. Give it a little bit of a fold and try and find your centre. Just trying to work out. I've put the blank in line with those squares now, and trying to use those squares of the matting underneath to assist in the placement. Do one side, press it down. I like these scrapers, they are softer. Then press the other side down. Give it a good amount of pressure. Once you're happy with how it's stuck down, you can lift the transfer sheet off, peeling it back against itself, making sure it doesn't take anything with it. There we go. a little muck up there. There's a couple of little mistakes on this, but the eye is an easy fix. We can cut out a new eye easy enough and pop that on. Here's my new eye. I'll peel that up. Make sure if you do a mistake like this, make sure you cut the correct eye, because there's a left and a right eye for this particular design. And now it's just a matter of placing that in the right location. Would have been much easier just to do it all in one go, but because now I have to judge this, but still it's fixable. Lots of craft issues can happen in your crafting journey, and really it's just a matter of making sure that you find a solution that solves your problem, and no one would be any the wiser that it had an eye issue. I should have gone to Specsavers before I weeded this frosted vinyl, because it was very see-through and difficult to see. That was probably the biggest issue, difficult to see. So apply some pressure and put that down there so it's pressed firmly onto the acrylic. And then you can peel back your transfer sheet, and there it is. It's still quite hard to see on, even with the pink background of the mat I'm using underneath. So I saved my transfer sheet for another use, so I've just popped that back on its backing paper for another time when I need to use a little piece of transfer sheet. And there's the cut design. Actually looks pretty good. And now all you do is pop it into the lamp base that came with the set, and that's it in pink, and then you change the colours. It's the blue and the green. There's other colours as well, yellow and white. White was a bit nondescript. I rather like the pink the best. Anyway, enjoy.